It was Lily's 7th birthday. The kind of morning every child should wake up smiling to. But I could already feel something heavy in the air. I stood in our small kitchen, surrounded by the smell of vanilla cake batter and the faint sound of balloons rubbing against the ceiling. I'd been up since dawn, mixing, baking, decorating, because I wanted this birthday to feel special, even if it was just the two of us. Lily came running in, her messy ponytail bouncing. "Mommy, is Grandma coming this time?" That question, it hit harder than it should have. I froze for a moment, pretending to stir the icing. I didn't want her to see the sadness in my eyes. "Maybe, sweetheart," I said softly, forcing a smile. "We'll see." The truth was, I had sent out the invites days ago. To my parents, my brother Ryan, even his fiancée. I kept telling myself this time would be different. They'd show up, at least for Lily. By afternoon, our tiny living room looked like a pink dream. Streamers, cupcakes, paper crowns, all handmade. Lily kept checking the door, her little hands clutching the present she'd made for Grandma, a drawing of the two of them holding hands. The clock ticked past 3, then 4, then 5. No one came. Every time the doorbell didn't ring, Lily's smile dimmed just a little more. At 6 p.m., as the candles melted shorter, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother. "Sorry, sweetie. We can't make it. Ryan's graduation prep is more important. You understand?" My hands went cold. I read it twice, maybe 3 times, trying to believe it wasn't real. Ryan's graduation was next week. They couldn't spare a few. Hours for Lily's birthday? Lily looked up at me with those big, hopeful eyes. "Was that Grandma?" I nodded slowly. She said she's really proud of you, baby." I lied. Again. Because what else could I do? Tell her that her own grandparents thought balloons and cake weren't worth their time. We sang the birthday song together, just the two of us, my voice trembling halfway through. She blew out the candles, made a wish, and clapped her hands. "I wished Grandma and Uncle Ryan could come next year," she said innocently. I turned away before she could see the tears sliding down my cheeks. After she went to bed, I sat alone, on the couch, staring at the leftover slices of cake and unopened party hats. The house was quiet. Painfully quiet. That's when I saw the photo on the fridge. My family, smiling at Ryan's last celebration. A backyard filled with laughter, expensive catering, and my parents proudly hugging him. Meanwhile, my daughter, their granddaughter, had a birthday party with only her mother, a cake, and a handful of forgotten balloons. Something in me broke that night. Not loudly, not in anger, but quietly, like glass cracking under pressure. I realized I'd spent years trying to earn love that was never meant to be shared equally. And though I didn't know it then, that night, surrounded by melted candles and fading balloons, was the moment I decided, next time, I wouldn't just stay silent. I woke up early that morning, earlier than I had in months. Even though my heart still ached from my mother's text, I wanted today to be perfect for Lily. The living room was already filled with color, pink and white balloons hanging low, the smell of vanilla frosting floating through the air. I'd written "Happy Birthday, Lily" on a banner I cut from old cardboard. I even borrowed a few extra chairs from the neighbors, just in case they actually showed up this time. Lily came bouncing into the room in her new yellow dress. Her excitement was infectious. "Mommy, is Grandma coming now?" I smiled, adjusting her little crown. "She might, sweetheart. Maybe she'll surprise us." Inside, though, I knew better. By noon, the table was ready. Cake in the center, paper plates stacked neatly, candles waiting. The chairs sat in a perfect circle, empty and expectant. Every time the wind rattled the door, Lily's head snapped up, hope shining in her eyes. But it was never them. It was never anyone. Hours passed. I kept checking my phone. No calls, no messages. I scrolled through our family group chat. Silence. At 2:00 p.m., there was finally a knock. Lily jumped so high she nearly tripped over her gift bag. But when I opened the door, it wasn't my parents or Ryan. It was Sophie, my neighbor and one of the kindest souls I knew, holding a small, neatly wrapped present. "Happy birthday, Lily," she said, smiling wide. I couldn't miss this, could I? Lily's face lit up like sunshine breaking through clouds. She ran into Sophie's arms and hugged her tight. "Thank you for coming," I whispered to Sophie as we walked to the table. Her eyes said what her mouth didn't. I know they didn't show up again. We sang the birthday song, all three of us. I clapped along, forcing my voice to stay steady. Lily laughed, blew out the candles, and made another wish. "What did you wish for, baby?" I asked softly. She smiled, innocent and pure. I wished Grandma could see my cake. My throat tightened. I turned away, pretending to clean the plates. After we ate, Sophie stayed for a bit, helping Lily unwrap her small gift, a box of watercolor paints. Lily's joy was contagious, and for a few minutes the room didn't feel so empty. But when Sophie left, and the door closed behind her, the silence returned. Heavy, suffocating, real. The chairs stood around the table like ghosts. The untouched plates felt like accusations. I sat there, staring at the flickering candle that had somehow relit itself, burning unevenly. That's when my phone buzzed. A Facebook notification. I opened it casually and froze. There it was. A photo of my family. All smiles, champagne glasses raised, perfectly dressed. The caption read, "Proud parents celebrating Ryan's big day. So grateful for this family moment." The timestamp said it was posted 20 minutes ago. 20 minutes. While Lily waited by the door, clutching her handmade drawing, they were out celebrating Ryan. Again. I could feel something collapsing inside me. Not just disappointment, but the quiet, cold realization that my family had chosen their golden son over us. Every single time. I scrolled through the comments. Congratulations, hearts, praises. My parents looked radiant, standing beside Ryan and his fiancée in a fancy restaurant. The contrast was brutal, their glittering smiles against the dull reflection of our dimly lit living room. Lily sat on the couch, painting with her new watercolors, humming softly. I stared at her. Her small hands, her focus, her innocence. She didn't know that her grandparents had chosen not to come. She didn't know that they were laughing and celebrating just a few miles away. I wanted to protect her from that pain. But deep down, I also knew something else. This was the moment I began to change. A quiet shift. The kind that starts small, a whisper that grows louder with every memory of being overlooked. I didn't know what my plan was yet, but I knew one thing for certain. I would never let my daughter feel small again. And the next time my family came knocking, they wouldn't be met with smiles and balloons. They'd be met with silence, the kind that makes people realize what they've lost. The next morning, the house felt too quiet. The leftover cake sat untouched on the counter, its frosting beginning to dry. Balloons sagged toward the floor like they were mourning the celebration that never truly happened. Lily was sitting on the couch, still in her yellow birthday dress, brushing paint onto her little watercolor pad. I could hear her humming to herself, the same song we sang yesterday. It should have been a happy sound, but somehow it broke me even more. I picked up my phone, staring at my mother's name. Margaret Carter. Her smiling profile picture, taken at Ryan's graduation dinner last year, mocked me. I hesitated. Should I even call? Would it make a difference? But something inside me whispered, "No more silence, Emily. Not this time." I hit dial. After a few rings, her familiar voice came through. "Hello? Hey, Mom, it's me." A pause. "Oh, Emily, hi. How are you?" Her tone was light, polite. The kind of voice she used with coworkers, not daughters. I swallowed. "I'm okay. I just wanted to say that Lily missed you yesterday. We both did." Another pause. I could hear faint laughter in the background, probably from Ryan's fiancée or their friends still lingering at the house. "Oh, honey," she said finally. "You know how busy we are. Ryan's graduation has been a huge deal for the family. We couldn't just skip the celebration." Her words landed like tiny shards of glass. The family. So that's what we were now. Outsiders. I tried to sound calm. I understand Ryan's graduation is important, but it was Lily's birthday, Mom. She's just a kid. She doesn't understand why everyone keeps forgetting her. Margaret sighed. That long, theatrical sigh I'd heard all my life. "Emily, don't be dramatic. You've always been so sensitive about these things. Ryan worked hard for years. This was his moment. You had your turn when you were younger." My chest tightened. My turn? I wanted to laugh. There had never been a turn for me. Not when I got into college on scholarship. Not when I became a mother. Not once. When Ryan got a new car, there was a party. When I got divorced, there was silence. "Mom," I said quietly, "I just wish Lily could feel like she's part of this family too." Her voice hardened. "Oh, don't start that guilt talk again. We've done plenty for you. If you'd just try harder to stay in touch, maybe things would feel different." The same old cycle. Her voice, cold, dismissive, always made me feel small. I could picture her now, perfect hair, perfect pearls, sitting on her sofa with that self-satisfied expression, already rewriting the story in her head so that I was the ungrateful one. For a second, I thought about defending myself. I wanted to scream, to tell her how many nights I stayed awake wondering what I'd done wrong, how many times I'd watched Lily's little face fall when another family event went by without us. But instead, I said softly, "Okay, Mom, I get it." Her tone brightened instantly as if relieved. "Good, I knew you'd understand, sweetie. Anyway, I've got to run. We're taking Ryan out for a family dinner tonight. I'll call you sometime this week, all right?" I forced a small sound. "Sure, bye, Mom." The call ended. The silence that followed was heavier than before. I sat there for a long time, phone still in my hand, staring at my reflection in the black screen. Then, without warning, the tears came. Silent at first, then unstoppable, not just for Lily, but for the little girl I used to be. The one who always waited by the window for her parents to show up to school recitals that never mattered as much as Ryan's football games. It all came flooding back. The birthday cards that never came. The compliments always directed at him. The constant reminder that I was the emotional one, the overreactor, the invisible daughter. And sitting there in that quiet house, surrounded by drooping balloons and half-empty plates, I realized something with piercing clarity. They were never going to change. No apology, no conversation, no confrontation would ever make them see me, or Lily, as worthy of love that wasn't conditional. So I wiped my tears, straightened up and whispered to myself, "Fine. You made your choice. Mom, but this time, so will I." Because what they didn't realize, not yet, was that their invisible daughter had finally stopped trying to be seen. And soon, they'd know what that really meant. It had been a week since the call, a week of pretending that everything was fine. I threw myself into work, into Lily's school routine, into anything that made the ache inside me quieter. But every night, when the house grew still, the silence whispered the same truth. They'll never change, Emily. Then, one afternoon, my phone buzzed again. It was Mom. For a moment, I just stared at the screen. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but the same habit that's haunted me since childhood. The instinct to pick up, to please, to hope, made me swipe, accept. "Hi, Mom," I said, trying to sound normal. Her tone was sugary at first. "Oh, Emily, how are you, darling? I've been meaning to call. Things have been so busy with Ryan's graduation plans." There it was again. Ryan. Always Ryan. I stayed quiet, waiting. I knew that tone. It wasn't a "how are you" call. It was a "we need something" call, and sure enough, a moment later, her voice shifted into that practiced, polite firmness, the one that left no room for refusal. "So, honey, listen," she began. "We're putting together this wonderful party for Ryan next week. Caterers, decorations, even a live band. But your father and I are a little stretched thin right now after the travel expenses. I thought maybe you could help out. Just your share, of course." I frowned. "My share?" She hesitated. "Yes, around $2,400. It's really nothing when you think about it. Family should contribute, right?" I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd it hurt. $2,400. She said it like it was spare change. I glanced at the stack of unpaid bills on the counter. Rent, groceries, school fees. The numbers blurred together, mocking me. "Mom," I said softly, "I can't right now. Things are tight," and her tone turned sharp, cutting through my words. "Oh, Emily, please don't start with excuses. You've always had this attitude about family events. Don't embarrass us in front of everyone. Ryan deserves a proper celebration. Don't embarrass us." That phrase hit me harder than I expected. Not "I understand," not "how are you doing," not even "how's Lily." Just that. A warning. A reminder that, in their world, my worth was measured by how useful I was to Ryan's spotlight. I bit my lip, trying to hold my voice steady. "I'm sorry, Mom, I just can't." Her sigh was long and heavy. "Well, that's disappointing. I thought you'd want to support your brother's success. Anyway, we'll manage." "We always do." And then, click, the call ended. I stood there, staring at the phone screen. The quiet hum of the refrigerator, the only sound in the room. That's when I heard a small voice behind me. "Mom?" Lily stood in the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes were wide, uncertain. "Why do they always forget us?" she asked softly. I froze. She'd heard everything. I knelt down and pulled her into my arms, holding her so tight I could feel her heartbeat against mine. Her little voice trembled. "Did I do something wrong, Mommy? Is that why they don't come?" "No, baby," I whispered, pressing my cheek against her hair. "You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes people just forget what really matters." But even as I said it, something inside me cracked, and then hardened. I looked around the room. the fading balloons still half inflated, the bills on the table, the innocence in Lily's eyes, and I knew something had to change. Not someday. Not when things get better, now. If they could forget us so easily, then maybe it was time they learned what it felt like to be forgotten too. For the first time in years, I felt my sadness shift, not into anger, but into clarity. A calm, steady resolve. They'd taught me my whole life that silence was weakness, but they were about to learn that silence, when chosen, can be the loudest revenge of all. The house was silent that evening. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm, the soft light of the TV painting her face in faint colors. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd once planned birthdays, wrapped gifts, and written invitations that nobody ever answered. In front of me lay a half-finished cup of coffee and my phone, the call log still showing, Mom. I stared at her name for a long time, my chest heavy but not with sadness anymore. Something different. Something sharper. For years, I'd swallowed their dismissive words, laughed through their jokes, and tried to earn their love like a prize you had to qualify for. But tonight something inside me felt calm, eerily calm. Like a storm that had finally found direction. I opened my banking app. My account balance blinked back at me. Not much, but enough to survive. I scrolled through the list of transactions. Grocery store, utilities, rent, all the little things that kept life going. Then I clicked, Send money, recipient, Margaret Carter. Amount $2, note. For Ryan's graduation, seems fair. Considering what we got, I hovered my finger over the send button for a moment. A part of me hesitated. The same old part that worried about being too much or too rude or too emotional. The voice they'd trained into me. Then I exhaled, slowly, and pressed send, transaction complete. A tiny confirmation tone pinged. That one soft sound, mechanical, meaningless to anyone else, echoed through the room like a declaration. I took a screenshot of the transaction and opened the family group chat. The group photo was from years ago, the last family Christmas we'd all been together. Ryan at the center, Mom and Dad beaming, me slightly off to the side. That old smile looked so tired now. I uploaded the screenshot. No caption, no explanation, just the image. Clean, quiet, final. Then I set the phone down. For the next few minutes, I just listened to the refrigerator hum, the clock tick, and Lily's soft breathing from the couch. It was strange. No heart-pounding anger, no guilt, no trembling. Just peace. I waited. 5 minutes. 10, 15, nothing. No. What's this supposed to mean? No, Emily, how dare you? No call, no text. Just silence. And that silence, that perfect silence, was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. I smiled, just a little, as I looked at Lily. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't need their approval, or their invitation, or their empty words. All I needed was this. My little girl, this quiet house, this small act of truth. I picked up my coffee, took a slow sip, and looked out the window. The world outside was dark, but peaceful. Somewhere out there, Mom was probably staring at her phone in confusion. Maybe she'd show Dad. Maybe Ryan would laugh. Or maybe, and this was my favorite thought, maybe none of them would say a word, because silence is what they'd always given me. And now for the first time I'd given it right back. A notification blinked on my screen. Family chat. Margaret Carter changed the group name. Curiosity flickered. The new title read, Family without drama. I laughed softly. Of course. I typed one message and hit send. Exactly. Then I muted the group and slid the phone face down. Lily stirred on the couch, her eyes half open. Mom? She mumbled sleepily. Yes, baby? Are you okay? I smiled. Better than ever. She yawned, curling closer into her blanket. Grandma's still mad? I chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Maybe, but that's okay. Some people need to be mad to feel important. She nodded sleepily. You're not mad, right? No, sweetheart, I whispered. I'm done being mad. I'm just done. Her breathing slowed again, steady and peaceful. I sat there beside her, watching the shadows move gently across the room. The $2 transfer might have meant nothing to them, but to me it was everything. It was closure. It was peace. It was the quiet revenge of someone who finally stopped asking to be seen. Because the truth is, revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just clicks send. And when it does, the silence that follows feels like freedom. The morning sun filtered weakly through the blinds, striping the kitchen floor with pale light. Emily sat with her coffee, scrolling through her phone, knowing, absolutely knowing, that something was coming. And right on cue, it came. A text notification popped up on the screen. Ryan Carter. Wow, seriously? $1? That's just pathetic. You've always been so ungrateful, Emily. She exhaled softly, letting out a half smile. Ryan had always been dramatic, the family's golden boy who believed the world spun around his achievements. He'd never had to beg for attention or affection. Everything was handed to him wrapped in applause. Emily read his message again, this time slower. Ungrateful. Funny word, she thought. For years she'd been grateful for crumbs, for every half-hearted maybe next time, for every forced family dinner where she was invisible. And now suddenly they called her ungrateful? She locked her phone and took another sip of coffee. No reply, no reaction. Silence was her armor now. But silence never lasted long in the Carter family. At 9:13 a.m., another notification buzzed in. Mom. Margaret Carter. Emily, that was incredibly disrespectful. We raised you better than this. Ryan is devastated. You humiliated the family. Emily stared at the message. Her mother always used that word, family, like it was a weapon. As if family only counted when it revolved around Ryan. Moments later, another text followed. Margaret. After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us? You've always been so cold. We're just trying to keep the family together. Emily could almost hear the voice, guilt polished to perfection, every sentence dipped in self-pity. She didn't respond. Instead, she looked up at the fridge. Lily's latest art project, a bright, hand-painted rainbow with Mommy and Me scribbled in pink crayon, was pinned to the door with a magnet shaped like a sunflower. That rainbow was more real, more loving than any message from her mother. Emily smiled. Then, instead of replying to Margaret, she opened Facebook. The cursor blinked in the empty Create Post box. She hesitated for a moment, then uploaded a photo of Lily standing on the small stage at school, clutching her Art Achievement Award with both hands, her cheeks glowing with pride. The caption was short, quiet, but pointed. Proud of my little girl for shining on her own. No hashtags, no emojis, no explanations. Just truth. She hit post. Within minutes, hearts and comments began to roll in. Sophie, your piece looks beautiful on you. Caroline, old coworker. This made me smile so big. Lily's lucky to have you. Tom, love this. Keep shining, Emily. The warmth in those words filled the spaces her family never could. It wasn't revenge that burned. It was peace that glowed. By noon, The storm had officially arrived. Emily's phone buzzed again. 10 notifications from the family group chat. Ryan. So you're just airing our dirty laundry online now? Margaret. Emily, delete that post right now. Everyone can tell what you're implying. Ryan again. You've changed, and not in a good way. You're jealous, that's what this is. Robert, her father, had finally appeared online. His message was short. Robert Carter. Enough, both of you. Then, as quickly as it came, the typing bubble under his name disappeared. Robert always stayed silent. That was his way. He never defended Emily, not as a child, not now. His silence had always hurt worse than their words. Emily took a deep breath and turned her phone face down. She wasn't going to argue with ghosts. That afternoon, she picked Lily up from school. The little girl came running, her award clutched tightly in her hand. Mom, Miss Clara said I'm going to be in the local paper. Emily's eyes widened with surprise. Really? That's amazing, sweetheart. Lily nodded enthusiastically. She said I have a creative spirit. Emily knelt, brushing hair from Lily's face. You do have a creative spirit. Never forget that, okay? Lily grinned and slipped her hand into her mother's. Are Grandma and Grandpa going to see it? Emily paused, then smiled softly. Maybe. But even if they don't, the right people will. That night, the house was quiet again. The hum of the refrigerator, the sound of Lily's laughter from her room. Everything felt lighter. Emily sat down at her desk, opening her laptop. On her Facebook post, comments continued to grow. Friends, old classmates, even her boss had left kind words. And at the bottom of the comment section, a new one appeared. Margaret Carter commented, Glad you're spending time with Lily. We've always wanted what's best for you both. Emily stared at it for a moment. The message looked harmless, even kind, but she could read the subtext like bold print. It was an image game now. Her mother was saving face, so Emily did what her mother never expected. She hit like. No sarcasm. No reply, just acknowledgement. A quiet, graceful end to a war she didn't need to keep fighting. The next morning, Ryan posted a photo of his graduation dinner. Champagne glasses, expensive plates, the family smiling in polished perfection. Emily scrolled past it without stopping. Then, as she reached for her coffee, she noticed something. A few of Ryan's friends had commented things like, Where's your sister? Thought she'd be here. And, didn't see Lily? She loves cake, right? She almost laughed. The irony was delicious. A week later, Lily's art story made the local newspaper's weekend section. The photo was small, but it was there. Lily Carter, age 7, wins first place for creativity and color expression. Emily cut it out and framed it on the wall. Right beside it, she pinned a sticky note that read, Grow where you're watered. When she posted a picture of the framed award, her caption was simple. Some stories write themselves. It wasn't meant for her family, but it reached them anyway. That night, she received one last message from her father, Robert Carter. Emily, I saw the article. Lily's talented. I'm proud of you both. Just one line. But it was the first time in years he'd ever said it. Emily stared at the message for a long time, unsure whether to cry or smile. Then she whispered softly, Thanks, Dad. She didn't reply, not in words at least. She just placed her phone beside the framed clipping and looked at the rainbow drawing on the fridge. Her heart was calm. Not because her family had changed, but because she had. Revenge wasn't always about making them feel what you felt. Sometimes it was about feeling nothing for them anymore. Peace was her revenge, and dignity was her victory. It started with a single phone call. the kind that you can sense is heavy before you even pick it up. Emily was folding Lily's laundry when her phone began to buzz on the table. The caller ID flashed, "Mom." For a second, she almost let it ring out. But something in her chest whispered, "Answer it." She pressed the green button. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was barely recognizable. Shaky, tearful, stripped of its usual confidence. "Emily," Margaret began, her voice breaking. We need to talk." Emily sat down slowly, her fingers tightening around the phone. "What happened?" Margaret sniffled. "It's Ryan. His graduation sponsor, the company that was funding the event. They just backed out. The banquet hall, the catering, the decorations, everything's gone. We had to cancel the party." Emily said nothing at first. She could hear her mother breathing, the sound of a proud woman finally cracking. After a long pause, Margaret added, "Your father's furious. Ryan's devastated. We've spent weeks preparing, and now it's all falling apart." Emily's lips curved slightly, not in cruelty, but in quiet realization. This was the universe whispering balance. Not punishment, not revenge, just balance. "I'm sorry that happened," Emily said softly, and she meant it. Margaret hesitated, then her voice dropped lower, trembling. "Emily, we shouldn't have treated you that way. You and Lily didn't deserve that. I don't even know why we thought it was okay." For the first time, the woman who had once been all authority sounded small. Not manipulative, not defensive, just human. Emily closed her eyes. She saw the empty chairs at Lily's birthday party, the balloons that slowly deflated in silence. She remembered her daughter asking, "Will Grandma come this time?" And then she saw Lily now, painting by the window, humming to herself, happy, safe, and untouched by bitterness. "You know, Mom," Emily said quietly, "when you ignored Lily's birthday, she didn't cry because she missed the gifts or the party. She cried because she thought maybe she wasn't loved enough." Margaret inhaled sharply. "Oh, Emily." "But the truth is," Emily continued gently, "you taught me something important. What love shouldn't feel like." There was silence on the line. No defense, no excuses, just breathing, slow, uneven, guilty breathing. Margaret finally whispered, "I don't know how to fix this." Emily smiled faintly. "You don't need to fix it, Mom, just stop breaking it." Her voice carried no anger, no triumph, just an unshakable calm that made the words heavier than any outburst ever could. "Lily's fine. We're fine, and I'm learning to be okay without needing everyone to see that." On the other end, Margaret sobbed softly. "I'm proud of you, Emily. You turned out better than I ever did." Emily felt her chest tighten. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't closure, but it was something. A flicker of truth. "Goodbye, Mom," she said softly. "Goodbye, sweetheart," came the whisper. The call ended. That evening, Emily and Lily sat on the porch, watching the sunset. The air was warm and golden, and Lily was doodling in her little sketchbook. "Mom," she said suddenly, "when I grow up, I want to be kind. Like you." Emily's throat tightened. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. "That's the best thing you could ever be, sweetheart." They sat in silence for a while, the kind of silence that feels like peace, not absence. Inside the house, Emily's phone buzzed again. Messages from family, sympathy posts about Ryan's canceled event, people gossiping online. She didn't even look. She had already lived through enough noise. Later that night, Emily walked past the fridge again. The rainbow drawing still hung there, now a little wrinkled from time. Below it, the newspaper clipping of Lily's art award caught the faint kitchen light. She smiled. The universe had a funny way of restoring order. Sometimes not through loud retribution, but through quiet timing. Everything that once made her feel small now made her stronger. And as she turned off the kitchen light, she whispered a single sentence to herself, half reminder, half victory. Peace doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means no longer needing it to hurt. The phone buzzed one last time before she went to bed. A notification from Facebook. A memory had popped up. Lily's 5th birthday, the year they didn't show up. Emily clicked, hide memory. Then, she looked at her daughter sleeping peacefully and smiled. Some memories weren't meant to be relived. They were meant to teach. The next morning, a message arrived. Not from Margaret this time, but from Robert. Robert Carter. Your mom told me what happened. I think we owe you more than just an apology. Can we come by to visit Lily sometime? Emily stared at the text for a while. Her heart was calm. She didn't feel the old ache anymore, only clarity. She typed back, Emily. Maybe someday. But right now, we're building our own peace. And she pressed send. That day, Emily and Lily went to the park. They laughed, painted on the grass, and watched the world move around them, not needing anyone's approval, not waiting for validation. The world had finally stopped spinning around people who couldn't see her. And for the first time, she felt completely free. Karma hadn't punished them. It had simply reminded her that choosing peace was the real revenge. It's been exactly 1 year since that night. The night the balloons deflated, and I decided to stop chasing love that never wanted to stay. A lot has changed since then. The house smells of vanilla again. But this time it's not just for Lily's birthday. It's my new life, my new peace. A soft pink sign hangs outside our porch window. Lily's Light, homemade cakes and sweet beginnings. It started small. A few neighbors ordering cupcakes. Some local moms asking for custom cakes. But now every week I get new orders. People love that the cakes taste like home. And that's exactly what I wanted. To build something warm out of everything that once made me cold. Lily runs into the kitchen wearing her sparkly pink dress. She's turning 8 today and she's glowing like a sunrise. Mommy, look what Sophie brought. She holds up a tiny potted plant with a pink ribbon around it. The tag says, For Lily, the light that keeps growing. I smile. Sophie has been more than a friend, she's been family. The kind that shows up not because they have to, but because they want to. We spent the morning decorating the backyard. Ribbons, balloons, fairy lights hanging from the trees. But this time every chair is filled. Laughter bounces through the air. Children chase bubbles across the lawn, parents sip lemonade, and Lily's giggles rise above everything like music. For the first time, the sound of a party doesn't ache. It heals. As I place the cake on the table, a 2-tier chocolate and vanilla swirl with hand-painted flowers, Lily runs up and hugs me. This is the best birthday ever. She squeals. I laugh softly, brushing a crumb off her nose. I think it's the best one for me, too. She looks at me curiously. Why, Mommy? I take a deep breath, looking around. At the sunlight spilling through the trees. At the people who showed up because they care. Because this time, everything here is real. I say gently. No pretending. No waiting. Just love. As the candles are lit, everyone gathers around. Lily closes her eyes tightly, hands clasped. I watch her face glow in the flicker of light. Her eyelashes flutter. Her lips curve into a tiny smile. Make a wish. Sweetheart, I whisper. She blows out the candles, and for a moment, the smoke curls into the air like a quiet goodbye to the past. Everyone cheers. The sound fills the air with warmth. Later, when the guests have gone and the lights twinkle softly above us, I sit with Sophie on the porch steps. She takes a sip of lemonade and smiles. "You've come a long way, Em." I nod slowly, watching Lily chase fireflies in the yard. "Yeah," I say. "I think I finally stopped running toward people who were never coming." Sophie chuckles. "And look what you built instead." I glance at the window, the little bakery logo glowing faintly in the dark. Lily's light. "Sometimes," I say softly, "you have to lose everything fake before you can build something real." The wind carries the faint sound of children laughing in the distance. Lily runs up, her face lit with joy. "Mommy, can we bake cookies for Grandma and Grandpa someday?" she asks innocently. I pause, not out of anger but reflection. "Maybe one day," I tell her. "When the time feels right." She nods, satisfied, and runs off again. It doesn't hurt anymore to hear their names, because I've learned that forgiveness isn't about letting them back in. It's about letting yourself move on. As night deepens, I tuck Lily into bed. She clings to her new stuffed bear, a gift from Sophie, and yawns. "Mommy," she murmurs, "I wished for you to always be happy." My heart twists gently. "I already am, baby," I whisper, kissing her forehead. "Because you are my light." I step outside one last time. The garden glows with fairy lights, soft and golden. The same space that once held silence and tears now holds laughter and peace. The air smells of frosting and grass. The world feels lighter. I take out my phone and record a short video for the bakery's social page. Lily's cake on the table, guests laughing, the candles melting into soft wax puddles. As the camera pans out, my voice plays over it, calm, steady, filled with the wisdom of everything I've survived. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's healing, because peace doesn't come when others change. It comes when you stop needing them to. The screen fades to black. The story ends not with revenge or regret, but with light. The kind that doesn't demand to be seen, only felt. In the quiet that follows, Emily smiles, not for anyone else, not for approval or closure, but simply because she's free. Free to build, free to love, free to begin again. The camera lingers on the bakery window sign. Lily's light, glowing softly under the moon. And for the first time in a long time, everything feels exactly as it should be. It's strange how time heals, not by erasing what happened, but by showing you what truly matters. For years, I believed family was supposed to be the people you were born to. But now, I know better. Family isn't always who shares your blood. It's who celebrates your heart. It's the friend who shows up when no one else does. It's the little girl who still believes birthdays are magic. It's the people who clap for you quietly when no one's watching. I used to wait for apologies. Now, I just make peace and cupcakes, because some stories don't end with revenge. They end with freedom. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply living a life that no longer needs one. Emily looks outside, at the garden, at the laughter, at the life she built. I thought I lost my family. But maybe I was just making room to find the right one.